expensive perfume and whispered voices. That's what betrayal smells and sounds like when you're standing outside your mother-in-law's study, frozen in place, hands still raised to knock. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. But sometimes life's most devastating moments arrive wrapped in the most mundane packages. Mark deserves better than that woman, Helen's voice slithered through the gap beneath the door. Emily, dear, you're exactly what this family needs. Young, ambitious, and most importantly, manageable. A younger woman's laugh, light and practiced. Helen, you're too kind. But Mark is married, and Rose is pregnant. Pregnancies can be complicated, especially at her age. And marriages? Well, they end all the time. I'm Rose. Until this moment, I thought I was living a fairly decent life. Engineering consultant, married to Mark Mitchell for 3 years, and 5 months pregnant with our first child. Now I stood in my in-laws' hallway, learning that my mother-in-law was actively plotting to replace me with someone named Emily. My fingers pressed against my belly, an instinctive gesture of protection. The baby kicked, as if sensing my distress. The timing is perfect, Helen continued. Rose's hormones are making her unstable. Mark's already noticed, I've made sure of that. A few more carefully placed comments about her emotional state, some concerns about her ability to handle motherhood. And you think he'll leave her? Emily's voice held a note of skepticism. Men are simple creatures, dear. Show them a better option while their current one appears to be falling apart. Well, nature takes its course. I should have burst in. Should have confronted them. Instead, I backed away silently, my designer heels, a gift from Helen last Christmas, not making a sound on the plush carpet. The front door closed behind me with a soft click. I made it to my car before the shaking started. My hands trembled so badly, I dropped my keys twice before managing to unlock the door. Inside the car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The late afternoon sun painted everything in deceptively warm hues, including the Mitchell family's sprawling Victorian home. 3 years I'd been coming here for Sunday dinners, trying to please a woman who'd apparently been plotting my downfall the entire time. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark, everything okay? Mom said you were supposed to stop by to discuss the baby shower. Of course she did. Helen probably timed it perfectly, wanting me to walk in on that conversation. A test, maybe. Or just another way to torture me. I typed back, got called away for work emergency. Rain check? The response came quickly, no problem, honey. Mom's disappointed but understands. Dinner tonight? Mom's disappointed. How many times had I heard that phrase? How many times had Mark unconsciously sided with her, making me feel like I was failing some impossible standard? The baby kicked again, harder this time. My hand returned to my belly, and suddenly everything crystallized with perfect clarity. This wasn't just about me anymore. Helen Mitchell wasn't just trying to destroy my marriage, she was threatening my child's future, their family, their stability. I started the car, my mind already racing ahead. Helen wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd forgotten something crucial, I solve problems for a living. Complex, technical problems that require patience, strategy, and attention to detail. And now I had a new project, making sure Helen Mitchell never threatened my family again. As I pulled away from the house, I caught a glimpse of Helen in an upstairs window, watching me leave. She raised her hand in a wave, probably believing she'd won this round. Poor Helen. She had no idea she'd just started a war. The Mitchell family dining room always felt like a stage. With its crystal chandelier and antique furniture carefully arranged for maximum dramatic effect. Tonight, watching Helen arrange her sterling silver place settings, I understood why. Every Sunday dinner was a performance, and I'd been cast as the villain without even knowing it. Rose, darling, you're looking a bit peaked. Helen's concern dripped like honey-coated poison. Are you sure you should be working such long hours in your condition? Mark squeezed my hand under the table. Mom, Rose knows her limits. Of course she does. Helen smiled, passing the roast. Though I was reading just the other day about how stress during pregnancy can affect the baby's development. Emily, you remember Emily from church? Was telling me about her sister's terrible experience. There it was. Emily. My fork scraped against the plate, the sound sharp enough to make George glance up from his meal. I don't believe we've met Emily, I said, keeping my voice steady. Perhaps you should invite her to dinner sometime. Helen's eyes flickered with something, surprise? Appreciation? Before she recovered. What a lovely idea. Mark, you remember Emily Carter? She used to babysit for the Hendersons. Vaguely, Mark said, reaching for his wine. Wasn't she the one who went to business school? Harvard Master of Business Administration, Helen beamed. And still single, can you believe it? Such a shame when career women wait too long to start families. My baby kicked, as if recognizing the threat in Helen's words. I pressed my hand against my stomach, drawing strength from the movement. Speaking of careers, George interrupted. Rose, how's that new project going? The one with the sustainable energy company? Before I could answer, Helen cut in. Oh, but surely you'll be taking a step back soon? The Mitchell men have always had stay-at-home wives. It's tradition. Times change, Mother, Mark said, but his tone was light, dismissive. He didn't hear the steel beneath her words, the way each comment was designed to chip away at my place in this family. Some things shouldn't. Helen dabbed her lips with her napkin. Family should always come first. Don't you agree, Rose? I met her gaze across the table. Absolutely. Family is everything. George cleared his throat, an oddly knowing look in his eyes. Helen, perhaps we could discuss something else? Of course, dear. She turned to Mark. Oh, before I forget, the country club is hosting a charity gala next weekend. I took the liberty of getting tickets for you both. Mom, you know Rose has that conference in Boston next weekend. Does she? Helen's surprise was perfectly crafted. But surely she can reschedule? The gala's such an important networking event for your career, Mark. And Emily will be there, she's on the planning committee. She could introduce you to some valuable contacts. The room tilted slightly. I gripped my water glass, watching condensation bead against my fingers. Helen hadn't just been plotting, she'd been orchestrating, creating opportunities, laying groundwork. Actually, I heard myself say, I can probably move some things around. Helen's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Really? But your work is so important to you. Not as important as family. I smiled, matching her saccharine tone. And you're right, networking is crucial. I'd love to meet Emily properly. Something shifted in Helen's expression, a flash of uncertainty, quickly masked. She hadn't expected me to adapt to her game so quickly. Wonderful! Mark grinned, oblivious to the undercurrent. It'll be fun to get dressed up, show off my beautiful wife. As the conversation moved on, I caught George watching me with an odd expression. He'd been unusually quiet tonight, observing rather than participating. When Helen rose to fetch dessert, he leaned slightly toward me. Be careful, he murmured, so softly I almost missed it. She's better at this game than you know. Before I could respond, Helen returned with an elaborate chocolate torte. Rose, you must try this, though perhaps just a small piece? You're carrying rather high, and we wouldn't want you to get any more swollen than necessary. I accepted the slice with a smile, my mind already racing ahead. Helen might be better at this game, but I had something she didn't, nothing left to lose. The email sat in my inbox like a loaded gun. 3 clients canceling major contracts within 24 hours, it couldn't be coincidence. I scrolled through their politely worded excuses, each mentioning concerns about reliability and heard through industry channels. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark: Mom says you missed lunch with her friend Sandra yesterday. Everything okay? Sandra, head of the engineering consortium, who just happened to be one of Helen's oldest friends. I pressed my palm against my desk until it hurt, fighting the urge to scream. 6 years building my reputation, gone in a whisper campaign orchestrated over cucumber sandwiches and bridge club meetings. In a meeting, I texted back, "Talk later." My computer pinged. Another email, this time from my biggest client, regarding our upcoming project. The phone rang. Mark again. I let it go to voicemail, unable to trust my voice. He'd want explanations I couldn't give without sounding paranoid. How do you tell someone their mother is systematically destroying your life? A knock at my home office door made me jump. Rose? George's voice, unexpected and hesitant. Have a minute? I quickly minimized the emails. Come in. He entered, looking uncomfortable in the modern space. Helen mentioned you weren't at lunch yesterday. Said Sandra was quite disappointed. Did she? My laugh sounded hollow. Funny, since I was never invited. George's expression shifted. Ah. He settled into the chair across from my desk, studying me with those quiet teacher's eyes. You know, Helen's always been good at stories. Telling them, shaping them. Making them real. Is that what we're calling it now? Stories? What would you call it? I turned my monitor toward him, displaying the cascade of cancellation emails. I'd call it character assassination. He leaned forward, reading quickly. His face aged 10 years in 30 seconds. Christ, Rose. I knew she was. But this. She's trying to make me desperate. Financially dependent. I rested a hand on my swollen belly. Vulnerable. Have you told Mark? What would I say? Your mother's systematically destroying my career because she wants to replace me with Emily? He'd think pregnancy hormones were making me crazy. I laughed again. The sound edged with hysteria. Which is exactly what she wants. George was quiet for a long moment. Helen wasn't always like this. Or maybe she was, and I just didn't want to see it. But after Mark was born, he trailed off, looking older than I'd ever seen him. She has a way of making her reality everyone else's reality. My phone buzzed again. Helen this time, darling, just checking you're still coming to the gala. Emily's so looking forward to meeting you properly. I showed George the message. She's not even trying to hide it anymore. Because she thinks she's already won. He stood suddenly. I should go. Helen will wonder where I am. George? He paused at the door. Why did you really come here today? He turned back, his expression haunted. Because 35 years ago, there was another woman. Someone I loved before Helen. And sometimes I wonder what my life would have been if I'd been brave enough to see the truth sooner. After he left, I sat in my darkening office, his words echoing in my head. The baby kicked, a sharp reminder of everything at stake. I opened my laptop and began typing. Dear Mark. There's something you need to know about your mother. I stared at the words, cursor blinking accusingly. Delete. Helen would make any direct accusation sound like the ravings of an unstable pregnant woman. I needed proof. Real proof. My phone buzzed one final time. An email from Sandra herself. Rose, dear, so sorry you couldn't make lunch. Helen mentioned you've been struggling with the pregnancy. Perhaps it's time to consider stepping back? I know several young engineers who could handle your clients. I closed my eyes, feeling the pieces click into place. Helen hadn't just been planning this for weeks or months. This was years of groundwork, relationships cultivated, stories planted, all leading to this moment. Fine. If Helen wanted to play the long game, I could play too. But first, I had a gala to prepare for. The country club bathroom mirror reflected a woman I barely recognized. Designer dress stretched over my growing belly, pearls at my throat, Helen's idea of proper Mitchell family attire. My hands trembled as I reapplied lipstick, smearing it slightly. You look beautiful. Emily Carter materialized beside me, perfect in midnight blue. Helen showed me your wedding photos. You were radiant. I met her eyes in the mirror. Were? Oh, I didn't mean. She touched my arm, concern radiating from her like expensive perfume. Pregnancy can be so difficult. Especially when you're trying to balance everything else. The bathroom door opened. Helen swept in, resplendent in silver. There you are. Mark's looking for you, Rose. Something about a phone call from Sandra? My stomach clenched. I should go find him. Let me help you with your lipstick first. Helen produced a tissue, dabbing at the smear with maternal precision. We want you looking your best. So many important people here tonight. I escaped into the hallway, heart pounding. The gala's music throbbed through the walls, a counterpoint to my racing pulse. Mark stood by the bar, phone in hand, frowning. Sandra called the house, he said without preamble. Something about you missing meetings? Client complaints? It's complicated. Then uncomplicate. His voice held an edge I'd never heard before. Because Mom's friends keep asking if you're okay, if the pregnancy's affecting your work, if maybe you're overwhelmed. A waiter passed with champagne. Mark grabbed 2 glasses, handed me sparkling water instead. The gesture, so casual, so controlling, made something snap inside me. Did you ever wonder, I said quietly, why your mother's friends are so interested in my career? What's that supposed to mean? It means, I stopped as George appeared, his face grave. Rose, a moment? He glanced at Mark. Alone, if you don't mind. Mark threw up his hands. Perfect. More secrets. George led me to a quiet corner. Helen's been busy. Board positions, charity committees, she's been positioning Emily for months. Creating opportunities. I know. No, you don't. He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. She's arranged for Emily to take over your biggest remaining client. The contract's already drawn up. The room tilted. I gripped the wall, feeling the rough texture of expensive wallpaper under my fingers. There's more, George continued. She's been talking to divorce lawyers. Gathering evidence of your unstable behavior during pregnancy. Building a case for Mark to get full custody when the baby comes. The pieces clicked into horrible place. Helen wasn't just trying to replace me, she was trying to erase me completely. Across the room, I saw Helen introducing Emily to Mark's business associates. Her hand on Emily's back, proprietary and proud. The perfect future daughter-in-law, already being woven into the fabric of Mark's life. I should have warned you sooner, George said. But Helen. She has a way of making you doubt what you see. What you know. Why tell me now? Because I saw the guest list for next month's baby shower. Emily's not just invited, she's helping Helen host it. He touched my arm gently. Whatever you're planning, do it soon. Before it's too late. The baby kicked hard, making me gasp. Through the crowd, I caught Helen watching us, her expression calculating. She raised her glass in a mock toast. Rose? Mark appeared beside me. Mom wants us all for photos. Family tradition, you know. Family tradition. Everything in its proper place, according to Helen's design. I looked at Mark, my husband, the father of my child, and saw him through new eyes. Not just Helen's son anymore, but a piece in her elaborate game. Coming, I said, straightening my spine. Wouldn't want to disappoint your mother. I followed Mark toward the group, where Helen stood arranging everyone just so, Emily at her right hand. My baby kicked again, a reminder of everything at stake. Time to stop playing defense. Helen wanted a war? Fine. But she'd forgotten something crucial. In chess, the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. And I was done being a pawn. The flash drive felt heavy in my palm, a tiny thing to contain so much destruction. 3 weeks of digging through Helen's carefully constructed world had yielded a treasure trove of emails, financial records, and recorded conversations. Each piece a bullet in my loaded gun. You understand what this means? George asked, his voice barely above a whisper in his study. Helen was at her bridge club, orchestrating more social destruction. If you use this, there's no going back. I plugged the drive into his laptop. Folders appeared, each labeled with meticulous precision: career sabotage, Emily arrangements, custody preparation. She's been planning this for years, I said, clicking through documents. Look, she started grooming Emily back when Mark and I were still dating. George's hand shook as he reached for his scotch. There's something else you should see. He opened a folder labeled previous incidents. My throat went dry. 3 other women. All former girlfriends of Mark's. All driven away through carefully orchestrated campaigns of destruction. I knew about Caroline, George said. But the others. Christ, I should have seen it. A new email notification popped up. From Helen to Emily, darling, everything's arranged for the baby shower. Rose won't suspect a thing until it's too late. What's she planning? My voice sounded strange, distant. Does it matter? George closed the laptop. You have enough here to expose everything. The baby kicked hard, making me wince. And destroy Mark in the process. This would ruin his career, his reputation. He deserves to know the truth. Does he? I stood, pacing the study. Helen spent 40 years molding him, controlling every aspect of his life. What if? What if knowing destroys him? George's expression hardened. Then maybe he needs to be destroyed. To be rebuilt into something real. My phone buzzed. Mark, Mom's worried about you. Says you've been acting strange. Maybe we should talk to Dr. Phillips? Another buzz. Helen, just checking on you, darling. Emily mentioned seeing you leave Sandra's office yesterday. Everything okay with work? Final buzz. Emily, we should have coffee soon. I have some concerns about Helen I'd like to discuss. I laughed, the sound bordering on hysterical. She's playing us all against each other. Like puppets on strings. Then cut the strings. George pulled out a manila envelope. These are copies of everything. Bank records, emails, recordings. All the evidence of Helen's manipulations. Use it. It's not that simple. It is. He stood, suddenly looking every bit the teacher he used to be. You're not just fighting for yourself anymore. That baby deserves better than growing up under Helen's control. The baby kicked again, harder this time. As if agreeing. My phone lit up with another text from Mark. Mom suggested we meet with her lawyer tomorrow. Just to discuss some family estate planning. Estate planning. Code for custody arrangements. If I do this, I said slowly, I'll need your help. And it has to be perfect. One mistake and Helen will turn it all against me. George nodded, reaching for the flash drive. Then let's make sure there are no mistakes. I grabbed his wrist, stopping him. Wait. There's something else we need first. I pulled out my own phone, typing quickly, Emily, coffee sounds perfect. Tomorrow? Playing her game? George asked. No. I touched my belly, feeling my child move beneath my hand. Playing my own. Helen thinks she's the only one who can manipulate people? Fine. Let's see how she handles being outplayed at her own game. My phone buzzed one last time. Emily, tomorrow's perfect. There's so much we need to discuss. I smiled, feeling the pieces of my own plan clicking into place. Helen had spent years building her web of manipulation. Now it was time to turn those threads against her. One more thing, I told George. After tomorrow, whatever happens, there's no going back. He nodded gravely. Some things shouldn't go back. They should burn. The Mitchell family dining room had never felt so suffocating. Every piece of evidence lay spread across Helen's prized mahogany table: emails, photos, financial records. A lifetime of manipulation laid bare under the crystal chandelier. Mark stood at the window, his back to us all. He hadn't moved since I'd finished speaking 10 minutes ago. It's all lies, Helen said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. Rose is clearly suffering from prenatal depression. The doctors warned us about this, remember, darling? Emily shifted in her chair, avoiding everyone's eyes. The recording of her conversation with Helen about the custody arrangements played softly from my phone, filling the silence. Mark, I said, my voice cracking. Please. Say something. He turned, but his eyes went to Helen. Mom? Just that one word, but it held everything: doubt, confusion, plea for denial. Helen saw her opening and pounced. Sweetheart, you know how I've worried about Rose's stability. She reached for his hand. Everything I've done has been to protect you, to protect our family. By destroying 3 other women before me? I pushed forward Caroline's old letters. By planning to take my baby? Mark, she's hysterical, Helen said. This is exactly what I've been warning you about. Stop. George's voice cut through the room. Helen, for once in your life, stop. George, dear, surely you don't believe. I found the divorce papers, he said quietly. The ones you had drawn up for Mark. Dated 3 months after Rose announced her pregnancy. Mark finally looked at the evidence, picking up emails one by one. His hands shook. Emily. You were supposed to replace Rose? I'm sorry, Emily whispered. Helen said it was for the best. That Rose was unstable, that the baby would be safer. The baby kicked hard, making me gasp. Mark's head snapped up at the sound, real fear crossing his face for the first time. The nursery, he said suddenly. Last week, when you were reorganizing. Mom, what did you do? Helen's mask slipped, just slightly. I was only trying to help. Mark bolted from the room. I followed as quickly as my pregnant body would allow, hearing the others close behind. He threw open the nursery door and stopped dead. Everything was gone. The crib, the decorations, all our careful preparations, replaced with Helen's choices. Emily's favorite colors. Helen's approved furniture. It's better this way, Helen said from behind us. More appropriate for a Mitchell heir. Rose never quite understood our family's standards. Get out. Mark's voice was barely a whisper. Darling. Get out. He whirled on her, face contorted. Both of you. Emily, Helen, get out of my house. Mark Mitchell, you will not speak to me that way. Helen drew herself up. Everything I've done has been for you. Rose isn't right for this family. She'll never understand our values, our traditions. Your traditions? I laughed, the sound bordering on hysteria. Like destroying anyone who threatens your control? Control? Mark turned to me, his expression horrifying in its sudden clarity. No. Not control. Ownership. She wants to own everything. Including me. Helen stepped forward, reaching for him. Mark. Don't touch me. He backed away. I can't. I need to think. I need. He pushed past us all, footsteps pounding down the stairs. The front door slammed. Well done, Rose. Helen's voice dripped venom. You've finally managed to drive him away. Just like I knew you would. Helen, George warned. Oh, save it, George. You're as weak as he is. She smiled at me, triumphant despite everything. He'll be back. He always comes back to Mother. And when he does. My water broke. The pain doubled me over, shocking in its intensity. Too early. A month too early. Rose. George caught me as my knees buckled. Helen's smile widened. Perfect timing. Emily, call Dr. Phillips. Tell him we're bringing Rose in. And that she's experiencing another emotional episode. No, I gasped. George, don't let her. SHH, dear, Helen soothed, already pulling out her phone. Mother knows best. And soon, everything will be exactly as it should be. The last thing I saw before the pain overwhelmed me was Helen's face, serene and victorious, as she dialed Mark's number. Hospital fluorescent lights cast everyone in sickly shades of truth. Helen stood at the nurse's station, her perfectly manicured hands gesturing as she spoke in urgent whispers. Dr. Phillips nodded, concern etched on his face. She's been increasingly unstable, Helen's voice drifted over. We're worried about the baby. Another contraction ripped through me. George squeezed my hand, his face grim. Rose? Mark burst through the emergency room doors, wild-eyed. What happened? Mom said. Of course she did. I gritted my teeth through the pain. Did she tell you about the papers she's filing? The ones claiming I'm an unfit mother? His face went blank. What? Mark, darling. Helen glided over, Dr. Phillips in tow. Rose is having another episode. The stress isn't good for the baby. The only stress, George's voice cut through the room like a blade, is you, Helen. She froze. In 15 years of marriage, I'd never seen George directly challenge her. I'm leaving you, he continued, pulling papers from his jacket. And I've already submitted evidence of your manipulation to the hospital board. They know exactly who's causing Rose's stress. Dr. Phillips' expression shifted. Helen saw it, her mask cracking slightly. George, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. He turned to Mark. Your mother had Dr. Phillips ready to declare Rose mentally unstable. Part of her plan to help you get custody after the birth. Mark staggered back. Mom? Everything I did was for you, Helen snapped, mask finally shattering. Rose will never understand our family, our legacy. She'll poison our grandchild against everything we stand for. Like you poisoned me? Mark's voice was barely a whisper. Like you poisoned those other women? I protected you. You owned me. He moved to my bedside, taking my other hand. But not anymore. Helen's face contorted. You ungrateful. Security, Dr. Phillips called quietly. Please escort Mrs. Mitchell out. You can't do this. Helen backed away as two guards approached. I'm his mother. I'm the only one who truly loves. Love? I pushed myself up, fighting through another contraction. Love doesn't destroy. Love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't try to steal someone's child. You know nothing about love. She lunged forward, but the guards caught her arms. Mark, please. Everything I did was for you. No. Mark's voice was steel. Everything you did was for control. And you've just lost it all. Emily appeared in the doorway, holding a familiar flash drive. Helen? The board would like to see you. Something about years of falsified medical records and coerced testimonies? Helen's face went ash white. You little traitor. I made you. You tried to make me into you, Emily said quietly. That's why I helped Rose. Because I saw what I could become. The guards began pulling Helen toward the door. She thrashed, her carefully constructed dignity finally shattering completely. Mark! You can't let them do this. I'm your mother. Not anymore, he said, not looking at her. Rose needs to push now. Helen's screams echoed down the hallway as another contraction seized me. Through the pain, I saw George following the guards, divorce papers in hand. One more thing, he called after Helen. The house is in my name. You have until tomorrow to clear out. Hours later, holding our daughter, I watched Mark's face as he counted her tiny fingers. I'm sorry, he whispered. For not seeing it sooner. For almost letting her. SHH. I touched his cheek. We're free now. All of us. Emily knocked softly, entering with George. The board's reviewing everything. Helen's medical license connections, her social circle influence. It's all crumbling. Good, George said firmly. Some things need to crumble before they can be rebuilt. Through the window, dawn painted the sky in new colors. Our daughter stirred, opening eyes that held nothing of Helen's manipulation, nothing of the darkness we'd fought through. What's her name? Emily asked softly. Mark and I exchanged glances. Hope, I said finally. Because that's what survived. What Helen could never quite destroy. George smiled, touching his granddaughter's hand. Hope Mitchell. A new legacy, built on truth instead of control. Outside, the sun rose fully, washing away the last shadows of Helen's reign. Hope's laughter echoed through the renovated nursery as she reached for the mobile spinning above her crib, butterflies instead of Helen's chosen angels. The sound still caught me off guard sometimes, so pure and untouched by all that came before. She's getting stronger every day, Emily said from the doorway. She'd stopped by to drop off the last of Helen's court documents. Just like her mother. I adjusted Hope's blanket, handmade by George. Any word? She's living with her sister in Arizona. The medical board revoked her licenses. Most of her society friends have quietly distanced themselves. Emily moved closer, watching Hope. Though some people say she's already trying to rebuild her influence there. Of course she is. I wasn't surprised. People like Helen didn't change, they just found new territories to conquer. Rose? Mark's voice from downstairs. Sandra's here. I found them in the kitchen, Sandra looking uncomfortable but determined. I owe you an apology, she said before I could speak. I let Helen manipulate me into hurting your career. I've already called my contacts to set the record straight. Thank you. I studied her face, seeing the lingering shame there. How many others did she use like that over the years? Too many. Sandra glanced at Mark. We all thought we were protecting the Mitchell family legacy. We never realized we were just enabling her control. Mark squeezed my hand. The gesture felt different now, not seeking reassurance, but offering strength. The legacy needed breaking, he said quietly. So we could build something real. George entered through the back door, carrying fresh vegetables from his new garden. The house felt different with him here, warmer somehow. He'd taken over the guest house after the divorce, helping us rebuild while healing himself. Emily, he nodded. Staying for dinner? Actually. She hesitated. I'm leaving town. Got a job offer in Seattle. Running away? I asked. Moving forward. She smiled slightly. Helen showed me what I could become. You showed me what I should be instead. Hope's cry from the nursery pulled me away. When I returned with her, Sandra was gone, but Emily lingered. There's something else you should know, she said, watching Hope reach for Mark's finger. Helen called me last week. Offered to mentor me again if I helped her reconnect with Mark. The old fear flickered, but Mark's laugh dispersed it. Let me guess, you recorded the conversation? Added it to the file. Emily touched Hope's cheek gently. Just in case she ever tries coming back. After everyone left, I found George in his garden, tending new growth where Helen's prized roses once dominated. Do you ever regret it? I asked. Exposing everything? Losing the life you had? He looked up, soil staining his hands. That life was built on lies. This one. He gestured to the fresh vegetables, the sound of Hope's laughter drifting from the house. This one's real. Later, putting Hope to bed, I noticed something in her crib, a small angel figurine from Helen's old mobile. Mark found me staring at it. Mom sent it, he said quietly. With a note saying she's sorry, that she wants to meet her granddaughter. What do you want to do? He took the figurine, studying it. Keep it. To remind us. Of what she did. Of what we survived. What we chose not to become. He placed the angel on a high shelf, just visible from Hope's crib. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's building something they can never touch. I watched Hope drift off to sleep, one tiny hand curled around her butterfly mobile. The angel watched from its shelf, a reminder that darkness doesn't always stay banished. But as Mark's arms wrapped around me, I realized that maybe that's okay. Some battles don't end with complete victory. Some wounds don't heal perfectly clean. But here, in this moment, with Hope's peaceful breathing and Mark's steady presence, I understood something Helen never could. Real love doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be true. The butterfly mobile turned gently in the evening breeze, casting shifting shadows that looked, just briefly, like angels' wings.